if I unmute myself, I thought I clicked the button, but I didn't. Welcome out tonight, everybody. It's so good to see you. Welcome to the show. This is Space Fam on OPT Telescopes, as well as all over the Stardom networks across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. We are everywhere tonight, but do make sure to check us out on twitch.tv/Clear Skies Network. That's where the majority of the conversation's happening. We're gonna get into it tonight. We got a great show. We're actually waiting for our third guest to join us. She'll be here directly, we hope. Hopefully I didn't confuse her with the times, but great science communicator Esther is going to be joining us here in just a bit. But first, we're going to go ahead and introduce our first two gentlemen on the show tonight. Steve, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, living maths, and sorry, everybody, I've got a little bit of a itchy throat today, so fingers crossed it's not what we think it is, right? So, Steve, let us know. Tell us all about yourself.
Sure. I run a STEAM-based NGO in Cape Town, South Africa. Pre-COVID, I was teaching a few thousand students a week. Now, obviously, during COVID, I've had to move everything online. I do a lot of online interviews with STEAM celebrities for young kids and teachers around the world to join in, and they get to ask the questions as well. I'm also very involved with running our annual space tour, where we bring astronauts out to South Africa and we take them to the poorest communities and give those students access to real active scientists. We also run math Olympiads. We're involved with coding, robotics, and all the other cool things that go with STEAM. So, I mean, I'm pretty much involved with a lot of the sexier stuff in science. And it's my job and my duty to get young kids excited about all of those things and make sure that they don't just think that mathematics and science is something that you have to do at school. I want them to believe that it's something that you want to do at school.
Preach. My friend Amber says that she loves your accent. He's quite popular for the accent. That's true. You don't expect it. It's like, oh my god, that's awesome. So not the only educator on the show tonight. We got my friend James. And James, I don't believe I've ever heard you say your last name aloud. So I will allow you to say it so that way I don't butcher it and I will remember it from now on. But glad to have you on here. For those that are unaware, at the Space Foundation, we have a really cool program called the Teacher Liaisons Program that folks can get involved in every year. And James is one of ours this year. We actually have applications open right now if you're interested in doing it. It's awesome. There's you get to come to Space Symposium. There's a lot of resources that are out there for education. And our education team is just incredible, and I know that they are always appreciative of the awesome folks that join. Jody in particular is Jody Ginn is the one that runs it for us at the current time, and she is a very enthusiastic educator. So James, I know you've been working with her a little bit, but tell us a little bit about what you do and what you teach and how you got into it.
Well, first of all, my last name is an enigma, so don't worry about it. Just kidding. No, no, it's James Folletti from New Jersey. I work at Corpus Christi School in Hasbrook Heights. Where to begin? Actually, first of all, just with a little shout out for the shirt.
Yeah. So that was our Space Foundation World Space Week shirt. So thank you for representing it for us, man. That's awesome. Let's get on you, man. Let's get on you.
Yeah, I mean, it brings up my eyes, doesn't it?
Absolutely, brother.
First of all, Space Foundation, absolutely amazing program. I'm so happy to be part of it as one of the teacher liaisons, 17-20. Well, here it is. During the the Space Week, let me just tell you, when you mentioned before about the amount of resources that are out there, so much information is out there, and I'm happy to talk about that later on too if you need. But I had been teaching middle school science for many years. Then I got pulled from one school, going to another, to kind of start a brand new STEAM program at a school that's never had it before. And so the principal gave me, free reign to do whatever I wanted to do. Said, I believe in you, bring it to the school. And so for the last couple of years, I've been building and developing this STEAM curriculum at Corpus Christi School. Up until a week and a half before school started, I was all ready to do it again for another year. And then I was moved to middle school science again, which I gotta say, I am loving it. I love being with those kids again full time and bringing all these amazing programs that I've been trying to do throughout the last couple of years. But having a lot of fun. I got those 5th and 6th graders, and they're a joy. So.
Oh, well, I know that you were mentioning a little bit to us before we started the show that you've picked up some other classes and you've really been helping out, man. And being a teacher right now is not easy. I know that there's a lot of challenges, and I do want to talk to you both about that right now. And we're very fortunate. So we're actually going to end up with a fourth guest tonight. Abigail Bolenbach is going to join us because she literally just got off a live stream with our friend Rob from Glarum, who actually I was going to wear his T-shirt, but I wore it 2 days ago and I haven't done laundry yet. But he's doing amazing stuff down in Mexico doing science communication, and he literally interviews a person in English and then translates it live on the show and tells everybody kind of what they're up to. But Abby just finished with that show, so thank you for joining us.
Sure.
And and she's doing amazing work. If you haven't seen it yet, I would say arguably the most popular show that Astronomy Magazine has ever done. The numbers are like they are it's so awesome. She does everything from I think the most recent one was the Artemis missions, and then one of the most popular ones was Flat Earth. Breaking it down of why it's not the real. So Abby, tell us a little bit about what you do and all the stuff that you're up to. You've accomplished quite a bit for being such a young science communicator.
Well, thank you. Where do you want me to start? Do you want me to just cover Infinity and Beyond, or some of my other endeavors?
Do it all. You can tell us the planetarium show. You can do everything.
Awesome. Cool.
And you've got a fan. Amber said that she loved your Flat Earth one. Your Flat Earth show. That's one of my friends from back home. I always love whenever we get to see that. Hey, Mormon, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. But yeah, tell us everything, Abby.
Okay. So kind of what got me into what really got me recognized in the astronomy kind of science communicator world was my big presentation on Cassini-Huygens, which was the probe that went to Saturn. And that presentation, I traveled around, as did I did a lot of other presentations, but I loved Cassini because Saturn stole my heart, and I created a planetarium show. I collaborated with a planetarium director here near me in the area, and we spent a year on the project, and the show is called From Earth to Saturn. It was a wonderful experience, and I learned a lot. I compressed like an hour-long lecture into a 20-minute show, so it was great. It was really enjoyable. And then the pandemic happened, so it didn't get to spread to all of the planetariums that I would have liked, and people aren't able to go out and see them. But eventually, I have hope that will happen. It's just time. I mean, it's only COVID, right? But after that, I was recognized by many different people just by networking and meeting amazing individuals and getting involved in wonderful organizations like the Mars Generation, and getting to meet Scott and becoming a Explore Scientific ambassador. And my gosh, there were so many awesome opportunities that somehow caught me, and I'm really glad that it happened. And I've talked to a whole bunch of them about different things. And how Infinity and Beyond started was I was actually doing a virtual lecture on pulsars and quasars, because who's not interested in that, right? Neutron stars is where it's at. And the chief editor, David Eicher of the Astronomy Magazine, was watching. And so I talked to him through messages, and we set up a meeting because he wanted to interview me. And I was so excited. I can't even tell you or express the amount of joy in the moment when he was like, "Hey, I'm interested in you. Why don't we meet up and talk?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, wow, this is so cool." And so
It is an awesome guy too. I've interviewed him a couple times, and he is sadly not sadly. He's an underappreciated science communicator because he does so much work behind the scenes that you just don't realize how much he does. And he's a prolific science writer. He does stuff with Dr. Brian May. They're working on like their third book or something. They're incredible. They really are. Yeah. But sorry, I just had to throw a little shout out to him too. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's wonderful. I love David. And so we had a video meeting with all of the editors, and at the end of it, instead of an interview, it came to be a series, because they saw my manic enthusiasm for astronomy and outreach, and I was completely on board. And I was originally going to do one every week, but then life happened with them and for me, and so it was every other week. But a series was born from that, and I am forever grateful. It's absolutely wonderful working for them, and we were going to do kind of a different approach at first, but we finally decided that the expansion, the kind of attention span for millennials and Gen Z is like 5 minutes, because all of us watch TikTok and that's like 30 seconds. So 5 minutes seems like an hour long. And so I thought I could generally cover an extensive amount of information during that time. I wouldn't be able to cut too much off, but it would get to the point, and so that they could retain it, and maybe watch the entire video and get some information from it. But yeah, we're on episode 10, which is awesome. It seems like it just started, and like the name, Infinity and Beyond, we'll be going until we reach infinity and beyond. Until we reach beyond, it will be going for a while.
I mean, we hope. I mean, there's obviously plenty to talk about, and it's always exciting when we see it. It's every 2 weeks, correct? Just so that way people know.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can find it on Astronomy Magazine. It's incredible. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of great educators on tonight. So let's talk a little bit about this. This year's been a little crazy, and I know that it's affected everybody in different ways. Steve, I'm going to start with you for this one because, in particular, South Africa's, a little ways away. So virtual is kind of the way for you to connect with all of us. You were a wonderful addition to the Humans to Mars Summit for us this year. And I mean, again, staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning to join the show with us is awesome. So tell us a little bit about, kind of some of the challenges that you've overcome. Not overcome. Oh my God, I can't speak. Overcome, and kind of some of the work that you're doing, and why math. I know that it's something that you like to, you like to highlight it because so many people are scared of it, and it's not something that you necessarily need to be scared of. I always say it's like learning a language. It's not going to be easy, but once you learn it, you're going to be so happy that you did. So tell us a little bit about some of your challenges and why math of all things.
Okay, well, let me break it down from this perspective. That in South Africa, we have quite a broad base between the haves and the have-nots. And as soon as COVID hit, it was evident that the haves would have access to a device and would have access to data and would be able to connect with schools, and the have-nots would have to choose between data and their next meal. So what happened was when COVID hit, it became very apparent that the disparity between the haves and the have-nots just grew even wider. The digital divide became ever more noticeable. And subsequently, since schools are starting to go back in the last month or so, I would say that some of the schools lost about 6 months of learning, which was already a problem because many of these schools were running with very few resources, and perhaps maybe even the fact that they hadn't even had textbooks, and then you go compound that with 6 months of no learning. It's going to have a huge impact in the next 2 to 3 years. We'll start to see those students moving towards high school, and that's going to have an evident impact on them. The point about mathematics, when I go to schools and I ask the students, how many of you like mathematics? Many of them do not put up their hands. When I ask them, how many of you do not like mathematics? Many hands go up. And that's expected. I then ask them, how many of you like music? And they all put up their hands. And then I tell them that they're all hypocrites. And the reason I say this is because just because you are a fan of music doesn't mean you like every style and genre of music. And mathematics is the same. Just because you don't like fractions doesn't mean you don't like mathematics. You just don't like that part of mathematics. So I feel that as a custodian of mathematics and STEM and STEAM, it is important for me to go out there and show students the much more available, approachable side of mathematics that they probably didn't ever consider. And one of those things is to show them the application of it and why it's so important. Problem solving, recreational mathematics, creativity. The World Economic Forum states that the top 4 or 5 skills that you're going to need in the future, if you want to apply for jobs, will be critical thinking, problem solving, and of course, creativity. And these are the kinds of things that I focus on and have been doing so for about 25 years. And if there is anyone that doesn't like mathematics, send them to me. I like a challenge.
So, what was it for you that made you say this is the thing that I want to go after in particular? What was the moment where it said, you know what, this is something I know that I have the talent to be able to connect with people in a different way and get them excited? Because I mean, the longer Steve goes, the more excited he gets, and you can't help but just be like, yes, I want to do math. I hate math, but I want to do math. And but one of the things I want to mention too is that one of the best pieces of advice that I heard, and wasn't directly towards me or anything, but there was ASU used to do a series of lectures called Origins, and it was Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Lawrence Krauss. I think Brian Greene was on the stage. It was like everybody. It was a who's who on this one. And whenever Lawrence started the panel, he was like, "I want everybody to say the one word piece of advice that you have for people to learn, and kind of what's most important to you." And Bill Nye goes, "Ooh, me first. Algebra. Learn algebra." Is like. It takes everybody struggles with it, and you see like Neil's like shaking his head, and he's like, absolutely, struggled with stuff, and he kind of goes into it as like of how important it is, and the things the challenge that comes with it, and what you can overcome. And man, I'll tell you, when I was working on getting my GED a couple years ago, and I finally realized I was beyond the math that I had ever been to before, and I was like, wow, and like this makes sense. I'm understanding this. And then now my next class will be calculus. I never thought I would take calculus. I never thought I'd have a reason to take calculus. Never thought I'd be in the space industry either. But I know that it's something that it really is. It's so extremely rewarding when you finally get it. So, but to not only get it, but say, I've got the voice and the ability to be able to connect people with it, that had to be a pretty cool moment. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of developed that and how that came about.
Okay, well, I was always working with students and young kids. I did a couple of years summer camps in the US. And I realized that I always wanted to work with kids. But what did I want to do? Well, I did study a science degree in mathematics and computer science. And I also did an arts degree in religious tradition. So I could write essays and do sums. But at the end of the day, I knew that I wanted to work with kids. And what I found interesting was that informal education was the way to go. You go to a school and you tell those kids, I want you to stop taking drugs. I want you to stop drinking alcohol. They don't listen to a word you say. But when you bring an outsider into the school who come and tell these kids the same thing, then they go, oh, you should have heard this guy come to our school and listen. So why did this person get the attention of the students and not the teachers at school? And that's because when it's seen in a formal structure, the kids kind of switch off. And when it's seen as informal, then all of a sudden they switch on. And I found that, doing all these exciting maths and science activities with kids at summer camp, wouldn't it be nice if I could get excited about that and do that in South Africa and around the world over the internet? So that got me a little bit started. And then while I was in Los Angeles, a group of science students from UCLA said to me, come with us. We're going into some of the neighborhoods and we're going to go do some science experiments with the kids at school. And they made ice cream with liquid nitrogen. They did exothermic and endothermic reactions. And all I remember was the expressions on those children's faces. And what is amazing is that those kids, with their limited language, could actually articulate exactly what they were doing in class and what they had learned. And the teacher said to me, it's funny, she spends 3 to 4 weeks trying to get a concept across and they don't remember anything. These guys come in for 20, 30 minutes and all of a sudden they remember everything. And I thought, well, if I could take that, bottle it, and bring that out as a mathematics program, then that would be fantastic. And that's how Living Maths came about in South Africa. But I mean, it's not an easy task, because when someone tells you that they are lousy at mathematics, they are the hardest person to convince. And Ron, you made the point that,
because they've convinced themselves that they can't do it.
Well, no, I mean, if you tell me you can't do math, then my obstacle is you. not the mathematics. The mathematics is easy. I can show you that it's easy, but if you don't believe it's easy, then I really have to work hard to change your mindset. And the one point that you made, which is something that I don't think people realize, is that sometimes it's a maturation thing. You know, you get to a certain age where you're at high school, your focus is on so many other things and not even the mathematics, and you don't even see the end goal. You're only looking at the right now, you know, instant gratification. So for you, maths is it's not even an important issue in your life. And at that point, you're not getting it. And then, of course, you continue this cycle. You perpetuate the cycle of, well, if I don't understand it, I'm probably going to be lousy at it. And every time you do badly in a test, then you go, you see, I told you I was going to be lousy at it. And that carries on throughout your careers and later on in life. And then all of a sudden, someone says to you, you know, what do you think of mathematics? And you go, oh, I was lousy at school and I'm really bad at it. And I go, oh, that's interesting, because you run your own business. You seem to manage about 30 staff. You solve problems on a daily basis that is far more complex than the mathematics that you were doing at school. I do not notice the disparity there. And that's when people realize that if they had to go back and actually take the content that they were learning at school and as an adult go through it and ask all the relevant questions, they would actually discover it is far easier than they thought it was. So really, it's about helping people to see the magnificence of the mathematics, but you don't start off by teaching them algebra and fancy equations. You start off by asking questions. And then when you start getting them curious, you can introduce the tools and the formula and show them how that can help you to find some sort of solution to the questions that were raised.
I mean, beautifully stated. And if there's anybody that understands really complex mathematics, it's Dr. Mora Bajah, who is an astrodynamicist and a good friend and mentor. And he was commenting in the chat. And I mean, he's another wonderful educator. He's at University of Texas, Austin, engineering division, correct, sir?
Booyah.
And so he's doing some, obviously, some incredible work. So, Dr. Jod, tell us a little bit about yourself and all the cool stuff that you do.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Happy to join in. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I've been here at UT probably about 4 years, associate professor, aerospace engineering, engineering mechanics. My background is astrodynamics, science that studies motion of objects in space. My research program is transdisciplinary. It really focuses on trying to quantify, assess, and predict the behavior of objects in space, specifically around Earth. Started off my career at JPL as a spacecraft navigator on a handful of Mars missions. I worked side by side with navigators on Cassini. So I heard Abigail earlier about love for Saturn. So I can understand. And then I worked at NASA's at Air Force Research Lab for about 10 years, and I focused on Earth. And then later in my life, in a moment of weakness, I left the government and decided to try this academic thing. So.
It's probably Ron on mute again.
Yeah, maybe. But listen, I'm glad that somebody can hear me, right? Because or else it'd be extremely embarrassing.
Oh, so I can hear you fine.
There he's back. He's back.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No, I hit the wrong button. Like I've got my toolbar across the top, and I was trying to flip back and forth between this and people. So not every single group of comments can I see on this one because Twitch goes to it's an RTMP stream. Doesn't matter what that means if you don't know what it means. But the only way I can look at the questions over there is to hop back and forth between it, and same with my Facebook page. So I went over and hit the wrong one, but I'm still here.
Nice.
I didn't want to interrupt there, Dr. Jha. I'm not exactly sure what you were talking about, but please feel free to continue if I didn't lose you.
No, I gave a brief intro, about me, my background, orbital mechanics, that sort of stuff, and I'm just like happy to be here and join into the conversation. And I've been hearing some interesting things and about trying to get people to be less fearful of mathematics and these sorts of things, and I think that's great. It's awesome.
Agree completely. And I know it's something, I mean, James, I'm sure it's something that you deal with quite often being a teacher of young folks. So, you want to tell us a little bit some of the challenges and, some of the rewards of being such an awesome educator? Abby, did you have something you want to say?
Oh, I just wanted to say, what was your experience on Cassini? Just personal nerd reasons. I just was wondering.
Yeah, so look, I mean, I mostly focus on interplanet navigation, but my other fellow navigators on Cassini, we used to get together and just talk about the challenges in orbit determination. And I think, Abigail, the thing that really moves me when it comes to navigation is that, we can't physically see the spacecraft, and
Right.
so the only way for us to understand where the thing was and where it might be is just based on these interpreting photons, right? Interpreting these radio signals,
Right.
and range measurements, and it's almost like detective work because you can see the spacecraft before the thing launches, and you kind of understand the size, shape, material properties, but it's like these things have a life of their own once they're in orbit, and then you try to figure this out, and you always try to really understand how that thing's going to behave. And what I tell my students is, if you want to know something, you have to measure it. And if you want to understand something, you have to predict it. And prediction is the key. So it's always kind of a personal challenge to spacecraft navigators to say, I'm really awesome. And the reason I'm really awesome is because I can predict where this thing's going to be, weeks or months from now. So I think that's the geekiest thing when it comes to spacecraft navigation, certainly Cassini.
That's absolutely phenomenal. What year were you on the Cassini team? Were you there in 2017 whenever it made its plunge?
No, so I focused mostly on Mars missions, like I said, but I had fellow navigators working on Cassini, and I was at JPL between 99 and 2006.
That's so awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's incredible. Wow. I am honored to be on the same stream as you.
Oh, Abigail, please, no. So to your question, fabulous Ron Sparkman, challenges and things that maybe are awe-striking about the students. I think this, right? It's like, so when I came to UT, having been a spacecraft navigator, you can learn the theory about applied estimation and deriving a Kalman filter and these sorts of things, which are critical. But the one thing that I found when I talked to folks in industry, and especially folks at JPL, is they said, when we get these students, they're all about the equations, but there's no intuition about this stuff. It's like, they get here and they can write all the stuff on a whiteboard, but if they look at a plot, they can't really interpret that and really understand what that's telling you about what's going on with this thing. And so I took it upon myself. I teach a class in methods of orbit determination, and I run it just like a nav team at JPL, where I have JawSat. I know, clever and very inventive of me, very innovative to call it after myself. And so it's like JawSat is in lower.
That's never happened before in space.
I know. So it's like JawSat is in low Earth orbit, and my students have 6 days worth of tracking data, and they need to predict, the spacecraft trajectory to the 7th day when it does a maneuver to take it from low Earth orbit out to GEO. And the thing is, I don't tell them that on the 3rd day the satellite does a weird maneuver and it's just unknown to them, and so they have to figure all this out. And so I put realistic errors in the data, noise, biases, depending on the sensor, different biases and stuff. And I even incorporate things like precession mutation, the fact that the speed of light is finite and it gets affected by the atmosphere. Like all this stuff is in the actual data. So they have to deal with these real effects. Man, I got to tell you, when they every student that has come out of that class with an A has basically landed a job, and it's like on day one they've been able to contribute to real missions. And so I think that's the thing that I feel very moved and passionate about, is helping the students connect the theory to something pragmatic and just giving them this sort of real world experience so that they can leave the university and be able to make contributions kind of straight out.
Exciting. And James, I see you changed your shirt there. Wardrobe change.
Listen, all I talk about Saturn, I'm like, I had to get involved somehow. There we go. Okay.
Absolutely perfect, man. I love it. I'm obviously a big fan of my space shirts. I've got my one on here that I got from my buddy Eddie Gonzalez, and it says "I'll be on Mars. Call me when you sort this shit out." And it's one of my favorite shirts that I've ever gotten. And thank you, Eddie, for that. He's always a wonderful guest, and he's a wonderful, actually another person that's very heavily steeped in education. He works at NASA Goddard as the lead for underserved and underdeveloped communities. So he works with all kinds of Asian STEM projects. He himself is Latin and Native American. He works with a bunch of those groups. He's absolutely incredible. So, Eddie, if you're watching tonight, man, I'm rocking the shirt. I love it. James, obviously, this is something that for you, you're the one that's really creating the next generation of scientists and educators, and what you do is amazing. I honestly give everybody props that works with kids on a everyday basis. The patience that takes to get through to them and that kind of work is almighty work, and I know that it is something that is you should be paid like sports stars are paid. I think that should be reversed, in my personal opinion. Give them $60,000 a year. See if they want to, But I love sports. Don't get me wrong. Actually, I don't like sports at all. It's not really my thing. But I understand and appreciate sports and why people care about them. But I think that that's a tragedy that we're not seeing teachers making six figures a year and driving Teslas if they wanted to.
Wait a second, we're not. What is
I mean, maybe you are. Maybe you found the key, but definitely want to talk a little bit about that and kind of your process and what it is to stay excited with this, especially with the challenges that you're dealing with right now.
Absolutely. I just want to go back a second for a moment because we're talking about so much about math, and I'm very open and transparent when it comes to my students. And one of the things I tell my students actually is the fact that when I was their age, middle school, even high school, I was never a math fan. I'm sorry to say that. But here's the thing, though. When it came to biology, chemistry, physics, I aced those. And then I remember talking to a teacher once before, back in the day, and I said, I don't understand. I ace the science courses. I can't ace the math courses. And I can't figure out why. And he said, because you found a way to use math. And that has always stuck with me, saying it's so true. When it comes to physics, you found a way to use it, to appreciate it. And that's what worked for me. So when I see a lot of my students who are truly struggling, I let them know. I found an appreciation. I found a connection. And that's one of the things I really try to convey to my students about making those connections to the real world, to bigger issues out there. I consider myself not only a lifelong learner, but a global educator as well. And when I teach my students, I try to make them feel as if they are becoming global citizens by becoming these global learners. And when they can make these connections using mathematics and science, language arts, bringing it all together with history and art, and going through all subjects, all curriculum, and of course involving STEAM in it as well. It just becomes a magical moment that you have with these students. We spoke earlier, we spoke many times about COVID-19 and what it's done to the education system. And you're right, when Steve was saying that we're about 6 months behind. And right now it's really getting those kids safe, making sure that they start regaining the confidence, regaining the skill set so they can move forward and be prepared for the future. What's I talked about silver lining earlier, and that's one of the things that I was trying to really understand and to tell my fellow coworkers and colleagues, parents, students, and that is to make these connections, make it relevant, and to really truly appreciate what we have and find that silver lining in what COVID-19 has done. we are all making videos and reinventing ourselves, not just because it's fun. I mean, I love a challenge, but at the same time, though, um, seeing these students understand and get that smile and find that spark once again, that's what it's really about. Going on these amazing adventures with them every single day, and finding new challenges and going through the process with them. So, but yeah, one of the things I started doing when COVID hit was again making videos. It was all brand new for all my students, even the teachers. They had no idea what to do, where to go, how to turn. So we really ramped up that communication skills that we all talk about and practice, and we put it into play. And I started working with New Jersey Audubon, Nat Geo educators.
You say New Jersey again? I love the way you say it.
New Jersey, did I say it right?
No. There was a little bit more umph to it the first time. New Jersey.
And the funny part is, I'm a New Yorker, so hey, so.
Yeah, you go back and forth. I'm sure you pick up some things.
Actually, Jen Cheeseman likes to tease me on my New Jersey accent, so I guess I have an accent. See, you're not the only one, Steve. So, but like I said, working with New Jersey Audubon, Nat Geo educators, Eco Schools USA, Space Foundation, working with all these amazing programs that are out there. And bringing it to these kids and showing, you're not alone. Look what we can do for you, and you reinvent yourself. It's really exciting. I know it sounds weird, but I actually do get excited about these things, and it shows with my students as well. When Steve was just talking about earlier before about that disparity between students who have and have not, and one thing that of course, technology, it's one of those things that fall in that category. But one thing that they all have access to is nature. And so what I try to do is I try to make these videos over the break, and that was reconnecting with nature. And I take them outside, and I go on a hike, and I just bring my camera out there, and I say, oh, here's some deer, here's some raccoons. Look, traces of animals. If it gets nighttime, I start bringing in the space information to it, and saying, you don't need to be in school to learn, and look around. We all talk about the whole idea about phenomena out there, and that's what we need to do. We need to embrace phenomena. We need to embrace the natural world, embrace what is around us, and use it all as a learning tool.
I can't agree more. That's but once I finally really fell in love with science and space, that's when I became a world traveler. I mean, I've got nothing on Morba. I mean, I think this is probably the most you've been on the ground in a decade, just because of everything with COVID. But I mean, it's impossible. It was impossible to keep up with your schedule. You were always somewhere else talking about what's going on, and I know that's something. But for me, it was. I couldn't wait to travel. I wanted to find out more. I wanted to go search and explore, and it got me way out of my comfort zones in a multitude of different ways, from pushing myself in education to climbing mountains and just doing crazy stuff, especially for a fat guy. So it was one of those things that, don't shake your head more, but that was not easy. Africa was difficult. But I know that it's something that has inspired you as well, Abby. I know that you do a lot of education outreach, working with astronomy and teaching kids, and I know it's something that excites you about it. So, you want to tell us a little bit about, you're kind of in this middle ground of where you're starting college and you're starting this big journey, to get an astrophysics degree. At the same time, you're also a teacher yourself. So you're in that middle ground, and similar sort of to myself, just at a much younger age. So you're doing a lot at one time. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is kind of difficult being a fledgling and at the same time trying to fly while you're falling out of the nest. So I originally became interested in astronomy just because of the beauty and the romantic allure of it. And then I fell in love with all the different elements. And then I found out the whole new universe of physics. And I was like, oh man, this is what I was meant to do. But then at the same time, I wanted other kids to be able to find that and ignite that passion if they had it in them, or if they particularly found, meteors or asteroids fascinating, or they liked observing more. And so I actually started with my mentor a youth group when I was 14, when I first, a couple years after I joined my astronomy club in my local town. And from then until now, it's been a balancing act kind of between outreach and then also my studies. But I did kind of wanted to rewind a little, Ron, if I may, and touch on something.
Absolutely.
You and Steve, I do believe, talked a little bit about how music was related to math. And I also wanted to mention that I am a hypocrite because being a musician, a pianist specifically for 14, 15 years now, I am terrified of math. Yes, I am. And I'm going into a very heavy math field. So I am completely aware of what could be a very ignorant pursuit, but I will do my best. But it has been very intimidating. I don't think a lot of teachers really, especially where I'm at, especially in the deep South, orient math to be propagated towards girls. It's more encouraged for the guys. And I think it's, just the science exclusive kind of track that we all fall into. And I just kind of had a rough go of it, and then it became harder, and it's very odd. It's a different relationship for me because I find it fascinating and very difficult, and so therefore I want to conquer it, but I have not a clue what I'm doing. So with that said, music has really helped me with math because music pretty much is math. The basis of musical sound can be described mathematically. Elements of music such as its form, rhythm, and meter, the pitches of its notes, and the tempo of its pulses can be related to the measurement of time and frequency. Music is divided in sections called measures, and each measure has equal amounts of beats. In fact, this is the piece that I'm working on right now. It's Chopin's Fantasy Impromptu, and I will put this up.
It looks like pure madness, absolute madness.
It is, and so each of these little boxes are measures, and there's different beats, and it's a whole different language that I have learned and have become fluent in just because I've been doing it my entire life. But these are the same as mathematical divisions of time. All of the notes and rests in music have numerical connections as well because they each have a certain amount of beats, so they can therefore be calculated. So without the boundaries of rhythmic structure, a fundamental, equal, and regular arrangement of pulse repetition, accent, phrase, and duration, music would not be possible. So therefore, it is literally math. Granted, some people interpret it with their heart and soul, and they might not be able to read music, and it just comes through them through their kundalini or through something else, and they might not have any knowledge of music theory, but it is still math. And actually, modern musical use of terms like meter and measure also reflect on the historical importance of music with astronomy and the development of counting, arithmetic, and the exact measurement of time and period that is fundamental to physics. So there really is a wonderful and beautiful handshake there that was very serendipitous for me to land on. But I found being in this community, a lot of people that are in heavy sciences, especially physics and astronomy, are also musicians because there just is that inevitable connection, and it's wonderful. But also, random fact, some composers have also incorporated the golden ratio and the Fibonacci numbers in their work. I do believe one of them, oh my gosh, I would kill myself if I was watching this, if I was watching me and stumbling on this. Who was the one that was the astronomer? Herschel. Was it Herschel? Who was it? There was an astronomer and a musician. He was a pianist, in fact. I think it was Herschel. I want to say it was Herschel. He was a...
I'm Googling.
Okay, go ahead and Google it. I don't want to say something wrong, but one of them was, and I think he was one that included the golden ratio in one of his pieces, which is just absolutely genius. I mean, what a serve! What a like a total kind of mic drop on humanity. Like, I am so smart. I'm going to put this little Easter egg in my piece of music, and you get to figure it out. Yes, okay.
It looks like you were right. Yeah, everybody's chiming in.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it's something that obviously is really important to me, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in our next guest. Esther is joining us. So I didn't think about it when I talked to Esther that I told her the correct time in my time zone. So that was on me. I'm sorry about that, Esther.
No,
but
I really apologize. You threw me for a loop. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was from 8 to 10.
So Esther's out on the East Coast, and I want to get to your introduction in just a moment. But music has been incredibly powerful throughout my life. It was something that when I was younger, I didn't listen to the music that was on the regular radio because Mom didn't like modern music, and so because of that, it was older stuff. So I mean, it's one of those things. I'm super happy now to see Van Halen, and even though I'm not the biggest fan in the world necessarily of Stevie Nicks' voice, I understand the passion behind people loving what Fleetwood Mac did, and I love that that's everywhere now, and I love that they're all over the charts. It's just kind of cool to see that again at a time when music isn't to me what it was, whenever I first started DJing, or even when I was growing up. But that's what everybody says. As you get older, it's like, this isn't, blah, blah, blah. And I remember people saying, like, I can't believe you're playing dubstep. And I'm like, well, yeah, I play dubstep, so what? That's what I do. But for me, it was a very important thing. And, when I quit high school, I didn't really know, apparently my audio is clipping. Let's see if I can fix that. All right, that might be better. But for me, after I quit high school, dealing with all the issues that I was dealing with at the time, it was I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and so to be able to walk in and learn to be a DJ and music, and learn to be an entertainer and find my voice was something that was incredibly important to me. And music is a very, very powerful thing in so many ways, and it's I know that it touches us all in different ways. But enough about my diatribe there. Esther, I want to introduce you. By the way, I love the Mova Globe. I've got one right next to me too. I think it's probably the same one. It looks about the same size. It's the big one.
This is not a Mova Globe.
Oh, is it not? Oh.
It's so big. It's like bigger than a basketball. I just am tiny.
It was so far away. Yeah.
If Mova made one this big, I would be delighted.
Perspective.
We'll have to see if we can get him on it. So Esther, tell us all about yourself, what you do. You have everything from science communication. We were talking about this a little bit last night. You started doing live streaming and gaming and cons and stuff, but before it was really as big as it is now. So tell us a little bit about what you do and all the awesome stuff you work on.
Sure. So some of what I do in terms of what space related is I'm really fortunate to be a NASA Solar System ambassador. My main focus with outreach is specifically kids. I'm like a giant kid, so I get way excited talking to them. My focus tends to be rocket launches and astronomy, and I try really hard to focus on doing Girl Scout camps because I was a Girl Scout growing up, and I just really want to see more girls in this community. So that's definitely been one of the highlights for me in terms of the audience that I seek to connect with more. And when I'm not doing space stuff, I am a financial analyst by day. I love math. I think it's beautiful. I love numbers. That's basically like what I do on a daily basis. And then in terms of what you touched on before with streaming previously, I love Halo. I'm an Xbox nerd. I love Twitch. The last thing I got to do that was really fun was I did get to attend the Halo 5 launch party with Microsoft, and I loved it, but I am sad that that version, when it did launch, like you couldn't play it on the same screen with all of your friends. And I was like, why would you take away that feature? I know the graphics were a lot better and stuff, but yeah, I love video games. Fortnite is really fun too. I don't know how much of you guys play, but it's definitely something that I've gotten addicted to as well. I don't know if I can hear you guys. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So how did you become a solar system ambassador, Esther?
Sure. I started with doing a lot of community outreach with the Planetary Society in Los Angeles. And then I was told about the Solar System Ambassador Program. It's something that people can apply to annually, and you submit an application. You pitch ideas that you would like to do in terms of outreach, and then before the end of the year, they reselect people. And then once you're picked, you just kind of renew your status actively each year. I think you would make a great Solar System Ambassador.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I would love to do something like that. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is
Bless
start.
into all of our motives.
I actually applied, so I'm waiting for the heads up.
Yes. Oh my gosh, please apply.
You have pink shirts again. What was your shirt? It's now NASA? You had Saturn?
Of course.
NASA.
I love the worm logo. It's my favorite.
That's
It's
good.
very retro. It's kind of like Wonder Woman 1984 ready to go, you know.
I'm not sure if we lost Ron. I think we did.
No, I feel like I can't
He's in
hear
the
him.
void of space right now. Goodbye, Ron.
Can you guys hear me now? Let's do this.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's okay, Melinda.
let's
So Ron is
and we should be
demonstrating
good now.
that-
Okay, there we go. I unplugged everything, and whenever I plugged it back in, it mutes itself. And I'm like, oh, I can't figure out what's wrong. I do this for a living, and I forgot to unmute the microphone because I forgot that when you plug it back in, it does that. So that way you're just done immediately there. So thank you, everybody, for kind of picking up the slack there. I was going to mention Solar System Ambassador platform is incredible. I have not had the time to do it yet, but I definitely want to. It's a very, I know so many people that do it. There's actually quite a few people that are in the comments section right now that are a part of that. And it's wonderful. Oh, hey, Jody's here. Perfect timing. We were just talking about Jody a little bit earlier, and because James is doing wonderful things and works with us with the Teacher Liaisons program at Space Foundation. So good to see you, Jody. So everybody, but yeah, I was going to say, James, that your shirt makes me a little dizzy. I like it. I'm like, I haven't even had anything to drink today, man. What's going on? I'm okay. Flashbacks.
Mac, man.
But I mean, so Esther, one of the things I want to talk to you about, and a few other folks here that are doing it, science communication wise, is that you have a very particular version of a platform. When you first started, it was well, I think at least the iteration I saw first was Gluten Free Nerd, and then from there. You've changed it to Space Cadet Esther. So I want to talk a little bit about why you created the platform to begin with, and then kind of the inspiration to switch it over to more space focus. And then I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you make your own clothes, which is just awesome.
Sure. Initially, I was online as the gluten-free nerd. I do have celiac disease, and it was long before anyone ever heard the phrase gluten-free before it was mainstream. I do appreciate that now I can say that, and more people know what I'm talking about. But at the time, over 10 years ago, I would attend different conferences. There's a celiac disease symposium that occurs every 2 years in a different country. And then there's a lot of different outreach events that happen in the United States, specifically with kids. And in that process, you meet a lot of different organizations that are food related, which would seem boring to the average person. But when it affects you as a consumer, it was interesting to me to understand the food science behind the manufacturing. So I actually was asked to become a board member for an organization in the United States called FAIR. It stands for Food Allergy Research Education. I'm sure some of you actually on Halloween particularly have perhaps seen teal pumpkins sold in stores. They're the same organization that created that project. It's just the Teal Pumpkin Project. So if you ever see a teal pumpkin outside of someone's home for Halloween, it means a child in that house has a food allergy. And that color is attributed to food allergies the same way like pink is with breast cancer. But at these conferences, I would wear all my space stuff. And if I worked with a food company and they would have me do product testing and recipe development, when I would present, I would make it space related. So I started making pale blue dot cookies and talking to kids about Carl Sagan. Or I would make Cassini cookies and talk to them about how much I love Cassini and things like that. So originally my platform was a little bit more structured in terms of that part of what I was doing in the industry, in particular to food. And then I started doing a lot more outreach with Planetary Society and then became a NASA Solar System Ambassador. And now I have transitioned more into outreach that is specifically geared towards any and all audiences that I can talk to, specifically kids is my favorite. The the program provides you with so many resources for those of you who are watching who are ambassadors. Like, you know how incredible it is. Like, it's anything that you want to talk about, you have at your fingertips, and you can just have so much fun. So I guess that would be my transition in a nutshell on social media in terms of when I switched from Gluten Free Nerd to Space Cadet Esther.
And I mean, it's an exciting thing. Oh, by the way, Dr. Jaw had to bow out, so thank you, Dr. Jaw, for joining us tonight. You're always an incredible guest. Thank you for hopping in with us and telling us about some of the great work that you do in education. Normally, we get really deep with him and talk about the space junk that's going on out there, and I was going to bring that up a little bit later. But if you haven't watched anything that he does, go check him out on YouTube. Go check out all the amazing work that he's doing to try and clean up the space junk that is out there. That's kind of like that's kind of his main job, traveling the world and doing that. But he does amazing work. But I mean, I know that the program, a few different people have told me to apply for it, and it's really just been about time because I know that you have to do so much outreach, and I do so much stuff already. Okay, so I guess I have a question. Can you do virtual outreach now since you can't do?
Yes, now that we're, in a quarantine, the 5 things that basically, the application structures is like 5 different things that you project that you would like to do in terms of outreach. And now with the quarantine that we're all experiencing, you can use Google Classroom, you can use Zoom, you can definitely do virtual events with kids. I think you would make a phenomenal solar system ambassador. You do so much already. I think that you would do great.
Thank you, and I think it's what I'll probably do is once life kind of gets a little bit more into a flow, starting the full-time job at Space Foundation and all the other things that I get to do, like this awesome show every Saturday, to talk with amazing educators and influencers like yourselves. I think it would be really fun, and I really kind of want to go to Steve on this because you're doing so much virtual work, and you do. One, I'm sad that I didn't get to make it to South Africa last year. That was one of the places we were going to go, but we ended up having some changes. And now that I know you, I'm glad that I didn't get the chance because had I been down there and missed you, I would have been upset about it. But now I got a reason to go. Well, I got multiple reasons to go back to Africa. Like the sunsets in Zanzibar. Holy crap, it's so beautiful. It's like it looks like it's out of a movie. Like I can't believe the water looks like that. Why does the sun look like that? I've never seen a sun look like what I saw there. It was absolutely beautiful. But off my diatribe again. But Steve, I love what you're doing, and I know that virtual events for you have been really big, and so I want to kind of talk about a little bit of that transition. Was it something that was really a main part of what you were doing before, or did you just dive in? And also, we have to apologize tonight for some reason. Steve can't use his green screen tonight, and it's so much better when you can double down on it because he puts like the app on, and then he has something crazy behind him, like cat with laser eyes, and it's always very, very entertaining.
Well, before I answer that question about the online transformation, just so that you know that William Herschel was based in Cape Town in South Africa, and I believe that he played a role in discovering a couple of the most prominent planets, and that all happened while he was based in Cape Town, South Africa. And then, of course, just to reinforce that, a lot of people do have anxiety around mathematics. It doesn't mean they can't do it. It just means they think that they can't do it, and they feel that it's going to be a challenge for them if they do try. But, a lot of people might say the same thing for music. They say music is really complicated. Only talented musicians can actually learn to play an instrument. And you being a musician might say, well, actually, you've got to start off somewhere and you've got to work through it. And if you learn the basic notes, you start building up. It takes a little practice and confidence, and you'll get there. The same thing happens with mathematics. Now, going back to the transformation, I've been in the online space for at least a decade. And I gave a TED talk, I think it was in 2012, on how I collaborate with teachers around the world. I was doing this for a long time, and I always said that the internet was going to be the great equalizer when we start making sure that everyone has an equitable access to the internet. It's going to allow people to participate meaningfully in education because they get to collaborate globally. They get to have experts coming into their classroom. It's just going to change education. And no one really paid attention to that. And then all of a sudden COVID came along, and I was going, you see, I told you. But of course, not everyone has access to the internet yet. And maybe with Starlink popping up all over the place, maybe internet will become a little bit cheaper and more available for remote areas. But the reality is that, you know, the question is, are we going to continue in this way, or are we going to hope that COVID goes away and we go back to how things were before? And I think this is a critical time in education. No matter what subject you teach, whichever school you are at, are we going to be looking at education the same way in the next year, or are we moving into a hybrid where we're going to have some online, some in person in the classroom? And are we using technology to bring out the best that we can within the classroom? So there are lots of challenges and questions. I get excited about it because I think that if you take, for example, a show like this, you could go to a school and speak to 100 kids in assembly. You can go put this on the internet and have 1,000 people watching it. And then next week, they can watch all the reruns, and you start reaching 10, 15,000 people. So what happens is that we actually find that the reach and the connection that we make with students is far greater using the technology. Don't get me wrong, I like the interaction with the kids. That's one of my favorite parts. But I will say that there's a lot to be said for the technology as well.
And one of the things that I love personally, and Daniel brought this up earlier. Daniel, I'm sorry it took so long to get back to this, but I love that you mentioned it. He said gamification of subjects with new technology tricks them into learning while enjoying the process. I absolutely agree. Whenever I was learning, I was starting to learn all these new maths. Khan Academy was priceless. Like, I absolutely love that platform. The TED Talk that Sal Khan has, one of his first TED Talk that he put on, going from a hedge fund manager, touches on what you just said, Steve. He was making these videos for his nephews to help them out with math, and he makes a joke. He's like, we like you better on YouTube than we do like in person, but they were saying it because they could back it up. And that's the thing that so many of us, I think, have, is that we're worried about raising our hands in class. A lot of us, you don't want to feel dumb, is what people would think if you don't have that kind of outgoing personality. Not everybody wants to raise their hand and ask a question, and you might miss it. But I think it's a really exciting thing to have these platforms now with these massive open online courses where you can just go on and hop in, and the gamification's fun. Like, you start out as like a little drop, and then you become like a dragon, and it's cool. They did a really great job with that, and I think that's a fun way to do it, that gamification of things. I think it's a really exciting time. I can't imagine that it goes back, and it's not. It goes back to not utilizing this resource. I mean, that's what kind of the internet's here for, right? Can we use it? We can use it for good things, just like all the craziness that we've all been seeing on social media recently. Please stop sending me political texts, please, whoever is in charge of that. That'll be super awesome. But I mean, there's wonderful things that we can do with that. I'd love to get a text and be like, you want to learn more about math? Go to khanacademy.com. I'm like, yeah, that I can get behind. Education, let's do this. But I know that it's something that, obviously everybody here is utilizing those platforms. And Abby, I know it's big with your show. That's how you're kind of reaching out to people right now, is this series. And we've seen it grow with To Infinity Beyond. I know that more and more people are following you and your story and the cool things that you're up to. So I want to talk a little bit about how you develop the episodes. I know a lot of work goes into it, and there's a lot of behind the scenes to put together this polished, finished product that obviously is doing quite well for astronomy. I think they seem to be pretty happy with you.
I'm over the moon with it, just absolutely ecstatic. And I think they're really happy with it too. It turned out much better than I anticipated and expected. On to how they form and kind of how they coalesce. It's really a dice roll. We just throw some stuff in the air, and whatever lands, because there's a multitude of topics. It's literally infinite on what we could cover because it's space. So that really is wonderful and easy, and made it a lot less difficult. So really, when I am editing something and then filming something, we talk about our next topic, because I have to do the research on it just to become more familiar with it, and so that I'm able to kind of spew some stuff to y'all and make it sound like I understand. And so when we do that, we just say, oh well, okay, so do we want to do something in our solar system, like on a planetary level? Do we want us to do it like a galactic level? Maybe cover something on physics. What are we feeling? Like, what do we feel today? We could do aliens, and that's one that I want to do, another conspiracy one, because that one had a lot of hits, and I really want to do something on aliens or something like that, or maybe space travel, or maybe do something on like how accurate was Star Trek or Star Wars, or something like that. I want to do, and we'll do all of those in the future. But it's really kind of just whatever we're feeling, which is awesome. It's just like, if I want to dabble in, the resonance of space, I could do an episode on that. And I think at a certain point, I'd also like to ask the viewers what they're interested in, because I mean, that's kind of the whole point, is to get everyone else interested and to watch it and want to continue watching it. As the editing process, I basically will kind of obsess over something over about a week, or about really 3 days, because I have no time. And I will kind of suck in and absorb as much information on that topic as possible, whether I'm familiar with it or not. And then it will be like 2 hours worth of like word scramble, just complete brainstorm for a couple of days. And there will be like a ridiculous amount of information on my Word document. And then I edit that down to something that could possibly be understood. So someone doesn't have to decipher it. And then once that is in place, I send that to them, and we, they edit it and give me their opinions on it. And then I do a couple rough drafts, and then the final video. And then Haley, the editor that does the virtual editing, or the visual editing, will do the background and the music and kind of the transitioning and that kind of magic. But it's been really fun and really cool, and it's a lot of freestyle, much more than I would have expected.
And one of the things that I want to mention here too is because we've got a great international audience tonight, and I see some folks from South America, and both you and I are working on this really awesome program called Passage and Yep. And a little bit earlier, you were on Cosmo Show. I would be shocked if you were talking to a Spanish-speaking science communicator and didn't talk about it. So you want to tell everybody a little bit about what it is and what our goal is, and some of the cool stuff that we've been doing with that.
Sure. So Passage is such a wonderful project. Education is really just a basic human right, and it needs to be more accessible for everyone. In America, we are so thankful that it is just kind of right there and expected that we go to school, but it's not like that everywhere else. Almost 23 million children in that region in Latin America between the ages of 4 and 17 are outside of the formal educational system. Granted, momentum has been building in recent years to more explicitly incorporate inclusive practices in STEM teaching and learning, especially to underrepresented students, but not at the level that it really needs to be. So I am teaming up with Passage, just like Ron is, and Passage stands for Providing for Aid in Science for South America's General Education. So this project is going to help make science education more inclusive, not exclusive, not where it's not available, more inclusive for those South American and Caribbean kids. So we're going to try to help involve STEM inclusion significantly for their future astronauts, scientists, doctors, engineers. And the head, the leader of this, the ringleader, is Lee Giot. And I think he's had this idea when he was like 18. He's in his mid-20s now, but he's a phenomenal man and has organized basically this entire thing himself. But Lee, myself, Ron, and along with other exceptional influencers and organizations are trying to crowdfund $50,000 to obtain important resources for these underprivileged kids in this region where science education is just nearly obsolete. I think 85% of the total 2,000 plus students who are going to participate live below the poverty line, and some of those children are orphaned. So how could you possibly expect, kids that hardly are having a good quality in life to be interested in science? And I think that's the main vision for Passage, is to provide the resources for aspiring young scientists over there that might be interested. So by 2024, hopefully Lee wants to make this a global initiative. And with Passage, there's going to be a cargo plane that's a research plane named Spirit of Science. And it's going to take 1,500 pounds of resources like books, school supplies, science kits. There's also going to be student activities and science classes during the flight. So I'm sure the kids are going to get a hoot out of that. But when they land, STEM education training sessions for the teachers and preparatory work for science fairs will begin. And because of the shared social issues and lack of opportunity throughout this region, a documentary video highlighting the importance of science education and communication will actually be filmed throughout this whole process, which is awesome. It's just going to get the word out there just a little bit more. And then to top all of that off, Passage is designing and building an online library of science communicator masterclasses made by the entire team. Ron, have you picked a subject? I have not picked a subject because I'm procrastinating, but we will both be doing it. I'm sure I will be doing it. I don't want to speak for you, but have you picked a subject yet?
Absolutely, positively not. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And honestly, I mean, and to tell you the truth, because I was talking to Micaiah, who's Eustace, who's another one of our team members, about this like a week or two ago. No idea. And I think a few of us are still definitely, 90% of us haven't started. I don't know that Lee started his, but I think we're just waiting I think he's probably wanting to get to a certain point before we really start developing those things, and it'll come out pieces at a time. But no, I definitely don't. I have not yet. No, not at all.
I just didn't want to be pompous and say, I'm going to teach you about string theory when a PhD professor of physics wanted to do something like that. So that's why I was waiting. That's actually my coined excuse. But I don't know. So I feel much more comfortable that you have not. It's a less of a pressure now.
No, absolutely, and I think it's something that this is all something that's in motion, and I've actually got it across the bottom of the screen there, so that way you can go check it out and see. I think we're at $13,700 now. So anything that you can donate, it's great. $1, $3, $5 is awesome. Lee, a little bit earlier this week, he and I did a live stream where he shaved the right side of his face and the left side of his head. Now he's bald as a baby's butt. But we'll be shaving my head here in within the next week. And astronaut Dwayne Digger Carey's going to do it. We just had a little bit of something come up, and we're working on getting all that sorted out. But we'll be live streaming that.
You avoiding wanting to shave. I honestly don't believe that.
No, honestly, if people don't know, I absolutely hate my curls. I cannot stand them. They were the bane of my existence growing up. So this is one of those things that, I do it every so often. I did it earlier this year. So it's not anything that's super new for me. I have a tendency to do it, at least once a year, just to kind of, fresh start kind of thing. Yeah, so we're really excited about that, and honestly, I'm kind of glad that something came up because it had dropped to 17 degrees and was snowing, and we were going to do it outside on the day that we were going to do it. I would have still done it, but you would have seen me complaining because I would have been freezing. But yeah, we're looking at that, and I mean, it's still probably going to be cold within the next few days once we get it figured out and do it. But stay tuned for that. I know that there's a bunch of people that have been asking, but I promise it is an important thing, and we're going to have some fun with it. So please donate if you can. We're excited to bring more folks into it.
This project is just to make science really for everyone. And until students from all socioeconomic levels have these same opportunities, equality of education will never be able to get there. I mean, this project is really an effort to just make it accessible for everyone. So I've donated a ridiculous amount. My family have donated a ridiculous amount, or you could just donate $5. Also, you could get some really awesome things if you donate, like VIP tickets to the Kennedy Space Center. I think there's a raffle now, like maybe you could get $70 or something, and then you also have complete access to the future masterclass video library. And then, like I said, there's so much more. So we really appreciate it. Anyone who's watching, if they want to donate.
And so one of the cool ones, I think one of the ones you were talking about there is that you can put $25 in, and if you put a minimum $25 in, then you are entered into the chance to be part of a Mars analog mission that we're going to do in the Mojave with Dr. Susan Jewell, and she's wonderful. She's been doing this for quite some time. I actually she reached out to me earlier this year and told me that she'd love to have me on one, so I'm really excited. So I'm probably going to line up the two together. But I'm really excited for this. I've yet to do an analog mission, and she does wonderful things. Personally, I wanted to do one of hers in Nepal because I adore Nepal and I want to go back. It was very hard for me to leave. There's a lot of places I've traveled to, but there's just something magical about that place, and I really want to go back. So I'm hoping that I get to go stare at the Himalayas again and study some science too on there. But she's doing incredible work, so make sure to go check out the page. Scrolling across the bottom, you can find out more details. And it's very important now that I mentioned that James has changed his shirt again. So James,
Oh my gosh!
James, you're pulling the share on me tonight. Whatever Cher used to, I believe. But yeah, so I remember whenever she used to do that during. I don't remember if it was award shows that she was doing it on, or like the concerts that she would used to do. But she was always changing clothes, and I always loved that. It's just she always had to one up herself, and I'm glad that she's still doing amazing things. But we have a lot of we've actually had quite a few people on here tonight that I've noticed in the comments that have mentioned educating their kids at home. And I'm sure that with all the experience that you have, James, it is something that you can give some really wonderful advice on as a teacher with all your experience to kind of help people. I mean, is there anything in particular that's just, something that, that's really helped you over the years and helped you to understand? And I know that it can be difficult to be both, a parent and a teacher for some folks. And I know that that's something that a lot of people are kind of struggling with. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that and get some advice from you for some of the folks that may be watching and are struggling a little bit with it.
Well, that's a loaded question there.
It is. And then take your time. We got plenty of time, but I think it's also an important one to kind of discuss. I mean, this is a different time.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, all right. I've given some advice to some of the parents that I've had already, and one thing I always say is you don't need to know everything. I tell my students that I don't know everything. Learning is a process. It's living, breathing, organic thing. And to think that you know everything, I think is, again, wrong and arrogant and misleading for our students. So to admit, first of all, you don't understand or know something, that's the first thing. Second thing is patience. And after that, communication. We're all in this together. No one should be left alone. Let's put it that way. I know, personally speaking, I reach out to the parents at the school as much as I can, at least once a week. Right now, we went back to school full time, which is a challenge in itself. We have 5 days a week. We also have students who opted to go virtual as well. So while we're teaching, we're also in class. We're also teaching virtual as well. But there are a lot of parents who do say, I'm not a teacher. I'm not. How am I supposed to teach? And I tell them, say, first things first. I'm going to do all the work for you. Okay. I'm going to do the research, just like Abigail was saying before. I'm going to do all the research I can. If I don't know something, I'm going to figure something else out, and I'm going to figure out new ways of teaching. And if they have any questions whatsoever, reach out to the teachers. Reach out to resources. Networking is so crucial in this day and age, but if you can bridge that gap with teachers, administrators, different foundations that are out there, you'll realize that, again, like I said earlier, you're not alone on this. And when it starts feeling overwhelming, again, communicate. I know for a fact that myself and my coworkers, my team of educators, we're always looking for ways to grow, to thrive, to reinvent ourselves, to reach our students, whether they are in person or at home. But that's but I think one of the biggest challenges is the fact that there are so many people who either, one, don't want to ask for that help, two, lose that patience very, very quickly, and three, I'm going to go back to it again, don't know how to ask for that help. we're here for you. A teacher friend said at one point, yes, this is a bad situation, but remember, what we're here to do is we are here to do all that extra work, give it to you, give it to the students, and work as much as we can. That's my biggest advice right there. Just remember, you're not alone on this.
Agreed, and I think that's one of the big things, the lesson that we've learned this year is that we may be, separate from each other, but I think there's been a whole lot of connection, from virtual happy hours to awesome, so many people have jumped into live streaming. I never thought I'd see a time where I would get onto Amazon and couldn't find a capture card. And for people who don't know what a capture card is, it's whenever you have, a camera and you want to attach it to use it as your webcam. And it's one of those things that it was on back order for like 3 or 4 months because so many people were using their cameras and the Yeti microphones were out, and everybody's doing more of it, and it's allowed us to connect. And I can't imagine what happened 100 years ago, the last time that we had one of these pandemics where we couldn't be around each other and there was no internet. It's just that's a whole lot of sitting around staring at each other.
People went insane, and a lot of them murdered each other and committed suicide. So this really is truly a lifesaver for many people, including myself.
Agreed. I mean, we've had a lot with they said the addiction numbers are up for people that have struggled with it, falling off the wagon and dealing with this. There's so many people. I'm excited for the fact that there's online resources now for helping you with your mental health. That there's the ability for you to talk to folks now. I think it's a really exciting time, and I think the internet has opened up so much. James, I know that you had something else that you wanted to say too.
Yeah, I just want to just go back a second. When I talk about reinventing ourselves as well as we need to get that. Make sure we have teachers have that support from the administration, from the community as well. So it becomes a symbiotic relationship. But I just want to go back to because we're talking about distance learning and what we can do to reach and reinvent ourselves that way. Over the summer with the Space Foundation, I took the Dr. Abrams Space Across the Curriculum course or PD program. Which was really focusing on PBL at a distance learning and what you can do to kind of change the practice that way.
What is PBL?
Project-based learning.
Sorry. Thank you. No, it's okay. I mean, hey, we're learning.
Absolutely, there it is. Project-based learning, and Jody from the Space Foundation and everybody there, they ran this really amazing program. And what was interesting is that teachers had a hard time kind of wrapping their head around it at first. And you can see the challenge that was truly happening. And what they allowed us to do is to think outside the box, think as STEAM educators, and to kind of figure out what works best for you and for the environment that you're working with. And it was a 5-day program. It was totally intense and amazing at the same time. Inspirational. And I gotta say, what was nice is that we built those bridges, those bonds that helped us kind of get through this project together. And it was, and again, allowing students to not just read a textbook online or to do a worksheet, but to actually do a full-blown project incorporating technology, if available, whether it's a Google Classroom or making videos, attaching to YouTube, whatever it is. There are so many tools out there. And I do agree with you, what you were saying earlier, Abigail, about the Passage program. You're right. We have it here in this country for the most part. We can do a lot more about it. But there is so much more that the world can be doing about this. So I think with more educators out there willing to reinvent themselves, to think as global educators rather than their media bubble, I think this world can be a much better place for ourselves, our students, and our communities.
I love it. And, talking a little bit about Passage too, because, Esther, I know that if I remember correctly, because I can't remember all the science communicators that are involved in it, but I think you're on the team too, but you haven't been able to do one of the live streams yet with us. And Abby, I know it's the same thing for you as well. Yeah. So every 2 weeks we do a live stream to raise more money. The one that we did The original one we raised about $2,500 that night to kind of spur some donations. That was when we did the we're gonna shave our heads thing, and we're able to raise another $1,500. So they happen every few weeks. I'm excited to have both of you wonderful science communicators on future live stream that we're gonna do. Again, go check it out. It's a really, really awesome initiative. I mean, Esther, I want to talk a little bit about your involvement in this, and what it means to you. I mean, obviously, it's got to touch a little close to home, and I know that it's something that is very important in the science communication that you do.
Could I interject for just one moment? Esther, could you talk about the Cassini cookies? What an awesome idea! Like, just epic. That is so cool.
Oh my gosh,
like amazing.
Well, at the time when I was doing food-related stuff with kids, I grew up with food allergies outside of having celiac. I also care for peanuts. And these conferences that I was attending with food allergy companies, at the time I was flying to manufacturing sites to see what they were doing, to see their regulations, because I had the opportunity to meet with legislators and congressmen in the United States to see what was going on the back end with the FDA. And then I would present at conferences on behalf of some of these food allergy companies, and they would want you to come up with some sort of recipe. And I was like, I'm not going to get up here and bake brownies. So if I'm going to be on a stage, I want to talk about something in that space or science related. And I also just wanted to connect with kids in terms of them leaving a conference and not focusing so much on the fact that, the conference is just for food allergies. Like, there's so much more than that. And I felt that a lot of the kids that I would connect with at these events were kind of more introverted, and they were really into space and science. So I actually didn't get any backlash from getting up and baking cookies that I would call Cassini cookies or pale blue dot cookies.
Cool.
And talk about Carl Sagan. I did silly things, like I love to hula hoop. I'll hula hoop on a stage and talk about Cassini.
That's amazing.
Get kids to focus on you, and then I'll bring them up on stage and put each one of them in front of each other to hula hoop while shouting facts at each other about Cassini that they remember from my presentation, and then I'd give them Cassini cookies. But I just tried to come up with clever ideas to get them to think about something far beyond food allergies that was also near and dear to my heart, which was sharing more about space and science. And that's how I just started coming up with really random cookies. So Cassini cookies were one of them. And then my pale blue dot cookies are still something that I make on Carl Sagan's birthday. I just love Carl Sagan so much.
Sorry to digress and interrupt your thought, Ron, and you talking about your passage, Esther. I just had to know. I had to ask.
No, thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it. It's definitely something that I still do for fun, but not exactly the focus that I get to do now as an ambassador of so many insane resources that I'm really grateful for. But I will gladly bake Cassini cookies with you at some point. That would be really fun.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
that would be
Esther,
awesome.
Have you ever met Dr. C. Proctor yet?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you, James. You beat me to it. I want to you got to go on her show. I think she's still doing Meals from Art. Yeah, definitely.
I would love to. I have not yet.
We'll connect you.
Thank you. That would be fantastic.
So she does a really great show where it's Space Snacks, and what she kind of talks about is everything from space, and then she kind of gets into your favorite foods, and I was really happy. I think it was one of the very first shows that she did, and she's wonderful. She does so many amazing things. I get to work with her at Explore Mars. She's one of our new board members. We've done a bunch of different shows together, and she's absolutely wonderful. And she's done a lot of I think she's done something like 3 or 4 different Mars Analogs missions, and so she ended up writing a book called Meals from Mars. So she's really big into that. I think you two would be perfect. That would be a fun show to watch.
I would love to meet her. That would be amazing.
An inspiration.
Yes, she is. Agreed. And but back to one thing I did want to mention too is that we've talked a lot about Cassini tonight, and Cosmos is back on the air again, and there's an entire episode around Cassini and Saturn. So absolutely go watch it. I definitely got emotional about it. I think I even got a little emotional when I was talking to Neil about the episode because Cassini was the first thing that I really got to be a part of an experience in it, because space is so new to me. It's only been 6 years. So whenever we started seeing those pictures and stuff, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I can't believe this. It's just right in our cosmic backyard. And now we get to see all the cool stuff from Juno, too, for Jupiter. But so there's an entire episode on it. I don't remember exactly which one it was. I haven't memorized them like I have the first season yet. And I know it's still airing, so do make sure to check your local listings, Nat Geo and Fox, and you're going to be able to find it there. But it's a really, really awesome episode. But I want to get back to a little bit bit about to Esther about your participation in Passage and why it's kind of an important thing to you.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful to be on the Passage team with you guys. It's something that Lee told me about earlier in the year, and it's something that I wanted to obviously be a part of. I absolutely agree with what Abby was saying earlier about how education should be, readily available for everyone. And unfortunately, it's something that is not a privilege at this time. And being able to be part of a team that's doing outreach specifically in South America with kids. And I love talking to kids, and it's just such a big part of my platform in terms of outreach. So as soon as I heard about Lee and all of the information that he was providing in terms of how they're going to do outreach, how there's going to be a documentary and the involvement with it, I was so excited. And just like you guys, I'm still unsure what I'm going to do for my master class.
Yay, Team Clueless.
Right?
Yeah, Team Clueless. Poor Lee. Lee's like, oh, we're going to do all these really cool things. And we're all like, we don't know what we're going to do.
About telescopes, like what are my top 3 favorite telescopes for outreach? Like, I don't know. I love telescopes so much. That might be something I talk about in relation to astronomy, but I have no clue. So when you guys start thinking of stuff, please let me know.
I mean, I'm hoping we don't have to do like a whole. Miss Micaiah, I was talking about you earlier that we were talking about it a few weeks ago, and we had no idea what we were going to do. So yeah, team no clue. But I hope it's not as in depth as say like the real master class, because I hope I don't have to write curriculum and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to have to talk.
Cool, come on, that would be so cool.
Have you watched Master Class? They're like 15 hours long. It's amazing.
I know. I know.
He's like, I know. It's like, oh my god, but I can imagine. But
it's an exciting, horrifying thought at the same time.
I mean, listen, I would love to do that production level. And the funny thing is that, so I've had the ability to have access to Masterclass for a while now, and I started to watch him, and I did not realize. I mean, it is so worth the money. But it is very time consuming. Like, I am Neil's biggest fan, and that is a long course. And all the cooking ones that are on there, like that's something I've always wanted to learn to do anyway. And especially now that but there he is. Where's he at? There we go. There we go. With Bourdain and finding that passion for food through him, I can't wait to watch those. And I wish that he was still around. I bet he would do an awesome one. They've had everybody else. I bet his would be really fun. But they're so complex, but there's so many great science ones, including the one with Chris Hadfield. So if you haven't checked it out, I think it's only like a couple $100 a year, and it is worth every single penny. It is one of the coolest things that's out there. And one of the other things I want to talk with you about, Esther, before we kind of get into the kind of final thoughts here, is that you were just part of OPT Telescope's Women of Astronomy. Mac Murdoch had reached out to me, and we were talking about it, and he got some really incredible women on the show to do that. And I think it's at a couple thousand views already on YouTube, and I know that it's a little bit everywhere. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I mean, since we are on OPT's Clear Skies Network, perfect place to talk about it. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with it, and what people can expect from the video.
Absolutely. I felt so honored to be part of the video. It's definitely brought me new friends in the community as well. It's always nice to also just meet more girls that are into astronomy too. And because of the quarantine, it's so great to connect to people, via screen, because that's the only thing that we have right now. So when they put together this project, I was so excited. And if you guys haven't gotten a chance to watch it, please do. It's on YouTube and it's fantastic. They interviewed a batch of us and asked us how we got into astronomy, what inspires us, who are people who influence us online, and, what's like our favorite cosmic object. And it was just fun to nerd out with people who like the same stuff as you. And I love OPT. I recently got to go visit them at their facility, and seriously, some of the nicest people ever. Oh my goodness.
Well, and I'm so mad because last year whenever we were hanging out, we had a group of us that were running around LA doing some really fun stuff before Yuri's night. The first place I went to was Oceanside. I didn't know it was there. I was so mad. It was right up the street from me, and I had literally up the street. I'm like, oh my god, it's the coolest place. It's the most amazing place for telescopes and science communicators, and it's such a fun family. And I was just super upset when I found out about it. I'm like, wait, you're in Oceanside? And by the way, if you've never been to Oceanside, that is a little slice of heaven. That place is beautiful, and that is It is I think it's more of a well-kept secret than people would admit. If you've never been, it is just got a wonderful feel to that town. And I think they've actually moved it from Oceanside to Carlsbad now, which is just a town up the road. But it's just a lovely area, and just right north of San Diego, and they're just doing awesome stuff. If you're not if you're watching this elsewhere, if you're not watching this on the Clear Skies Network, go check it out. Make sure to subscribe. Twitch.tv/Clear Skies Network. There's always awesome stuff going on. There's live streams every night. Everything from beginning astrophotography and imaging and live streams from telescopes all the way through. So there's always cool stuff going on the channel. And of course, we have this one every Saturday at 8, except for the rare occasion where something comes up like last week. But we always love having people join in, and they're doing really incredible stuff, and I'm super stoked because I have had the telescope on loan from CS Astro for like 3 or 4 years now, and they're going to be so excited to get their loader scope back because I'm getting my first telescope. They're getting ready to launch the Raptor, and it's incredible. I got to talk about it with Dustin the other night, and I'm really excited to have my own first telescope. So I'm going to be nerding out for sure and taking some pictures. So just bear with me because I'm going to be throwing a bunch of stuff up that I'm sure is not going to be that high quality to start with, but I'll get there. Again, check out OPT. There's a lot of awesome things going on. And across the bottom of the screen, I have the YouTube link. Obviously, you'll have to type it in. It's a little lengthy, but do go check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful one. I see Micaiah is cracking up, saying, "It's like, what do I do for her masterclass?" So I'm glad that we're all in the same boat on that one. And Jeff has noticed that there was another shirt change. Which I love. Okay, so James, you and I are going to have to do a T-shirt off. We're going to have to do just like how many wardrobe changes can we do, because that's the majority of my closet. It really, really is. It's just the dirty space shirts.
Between space and Star Wars, yeah, that kind of a
And I have that shirt, just a different version of it. I think mine is Houston, I have so many problems, and a friend of mine got it for me. I'm like, I love you, Renee. You get me. I feel seen. So it's one of my favorites. As we're getting into the last 15 minutes, I kind of want to go around to each of you again and kind of get your final thoughts, any advice that you'd like to share, or words of wisdom, and then where people can find you on social media and check you out. And then I think what I want to do to finish the show is I think I'm actually going to play that Women of Astronomy YouTube video, which is about 16 minutes long. So we'll go a little longer after the end of the show tonight, so that way you all can see it if you haven't seen it yet. Steve, I want to go to you first. Tell everybody, any words of wisdom that you have, where they can find you, how they can be involved in Living Mass if they want to work with you, and all the cool stuff that you do.
Absolutely. Livingmaths.com. It's quite simple. We add the S after the math because it's mathematics. But of course, you say potato, we say potato. We actually don't say potato. We say potato too. What I would like to say is that if you're looking for nice ideas for your masterclass, number one, go and investigate fold scopes. Number two, the South African Astronomical Observatory, they do a lot of outreach at schools, and they create these little telescopes that the kids can actually build, fold up and make, and then they go and run exercises with them on that. So if you want some ideas there, I can always track down that information and send it through to you. But you should learn to tap into the resources that are there. Why reinvent the bagel? There are so many wonderful resources out there that it's all freely available. And the one piece of advice is that I hear a lot of parents say, my kids are going to get so sick and tired of doing online learning. They want the real human interaction. And they don't even see the irony that if they leave their kids in front of a TV, when we grew up, we watched Mr. Rogers, we watched Bill Nye the Science Guy. We were doing online learning with those teachers for years, and we all turned out okay. So I think that, people shouldn't be afraid of the fact that, there's going to be this whole situation where teachers will be available online. It just means that we can be more efficient, and everyone gets a front row seat. Instead of having kids sitting at the back of the classroom, every child is in the front row, and we get to interact with all of them. So I'm quite excited about what the future holds. And if anyone would like to get in touch with me and they need ideas, I'm here for you. Just give me a shout and I'll be happy to assist.
And for those folks that don't know, the Humans to Mars Summit is now available on the website. So if you go to exploremars.com, .org/summit, all the videos are up there now. So if you haven't got a chance to go check it out. Steve was on a wonderful education panel, as well as the final panel of the event that I was lucky enough to be on. It was far outclassed by so many awesome science communicators and doctors and scientists, and it was a truly, truly wonderful week that I will never forget. And Steve, you always bring something amazing to the table. So thank you for coming on the show and staying up to start the show at 4 a.m. Again, South Africa. I can't thank the people enough that come on this show late night. Bianca came on really late. We often have somebody that is up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to come on and talk with us, and that is just that's a big honor because I love my sleep. So I always appreciate that when people do that. So James, I want to go to you next, sir. Tell us a little bit about your final words of wisdom, where people can check out what you're doing. Maybe give us a bit of background on all this awesome work you've been doing. Twitter, Facebook. I know I see you tag us all the time because I'm the lead for Space Foundation social media, so you're always tagging us in the awesome stuff that you do, and it's always wonderful work. So share with that a little bit about that. So Jackie said, "What did I miss?" The whole show, but that's fine. And I'm pretty sure Jackie's done that before as a joke, and that always cracks me up. But James, I want to go to you.
We didn't really talk about much. Don't worry about it. It's okay. No, I mean, listen, we touched base on so many amazing topics tonight, and then what you're doing, Ron, is just absolutely inspirational and wonderful, and I can't thank you enough. But one thing I have to say is just be inspired. Be inspired by everything and anything. We as Americans and as human beings in general have just kind of forgotten about the outside world, forgotten about everything else around us. And again, I'm going to bring up that word again. It's the buzzword, phenomenon. And be inspired by what is around us at all times. You can learn anywhere, everywhere, any way possible. Like Steve was just saying before, online learning, it's not something that's new. It's just a different format than what we've had in the past. But that's all I really got to say is be inspired, want to learn, step outside of your comfort zone a bit, and just find that silver lining in everything. You're going to realize that, no matter how bad things really are, we can all get through this. We can get through this together because networking, community, and just being out there, being inspired. It makes life better. When life gives you lemons, you make limoncello. So there it is.
Jello shocked me. One of my friends gave it to me, and I was not expecting it. And I didn't realize what it was, so I had it for the first time when I was in Italy, and just, what's coming. They tell you then. But he was like, "Oh, we're just going to have an after-dinner drink or whatever." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I took him, like, "Oh, my God, what was that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's limoncello." I'm like, "That's evil. It's evil, George." George, I know you always watch the show, so one of our good friends, George White, part of the Colorado Springs Astronomical Society, he and his wonderful son, Eric, were actually the hosts of Clear Skies Telescope Astronomy 101 series that we have on YouTube. So everybody go check that out. We're going to be working on season 2 here in the very near future. I'm really excited about that to see how we're going to develop that more. And that was one of the first projects that I really got to do from within Space Foundation, but they were kind enough to let me use the facility, to let us use the facility to create this awesome platform. And George and Eric wrote the show. They had full input on it. I learned so much from them. And the reason why they ended up being the hosts is that I had done a live stream to give away a telescope with a friend of mine, Nathan, and I just couldn't believe when Eric got on and started explaining the telescope off the top of his head. He was like 11 or 12 years old at the time, and he just goes off, and I was like, "What on earth and where did you come from?" Because I'd heard him talk about some stuff before, but you want to talk about being in his element, and he and his dad were great, and we're gonna have to involve the sister this time, who she definitely gave me some schooling whenever I interviewed her as well. So it's going to be really fun. So look out for Clear Skies Season 2 coming soon. Esther, I want to go to you next. Your final thoughts, anything you want to share with us, where people can find you on social media and all the cool stuff that you're up to.
Sure. People can find me on social media under Space Cadet Esther. I am primarily on Instagram, but I've got platforms on Twitch and on YouTube and on Twitter as well, on Facebook. And I feel like my words of wisdom would just be, I know we're all dealing with a lot with the quarantine, and you're staring at your screens more than ever, but people shouldn't feel alone. Like, you have so many places where you have common grounds and communities online that you can be a part of or reach out to or just be inspired by. And I would definitely tell people to keep going outside and keep looking up. Those are things that I try to remind myself to do weekly. It's easy to just get into this routine of being inside all the time, kind of in pajama mode. And going outside just makes me feel so happy. So I encourage people to keep looking up and make sure that you make plans to do more stuff outside. And when you do, don't think that you're by yourself. There's definitely fun events you can join virtually online that people are streaming, like Observe the Moon Nights and things like that. So that's what I would tell people to do more of.
And that's actually a really great note. Our friend over Cosmo right now on Glaridum is actually doing a live stream of the moon, and there's like 700 concurrent people watching right now. So make sure you go over there and check that out. He's wonderful. And that's again, that's something that you can do on here if you come on and you're part of the community. Again, if you're not watching on Clear Skies Network on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Clear Skies Network. But hop over and jump on those live streams and watch and learn. Astronomy is the ultimate social distancing. If it's we're starting to see more outreach. Our Colorado Springs Astronomical Society started again back in August, and I got to see the first meteor shower that I've ever really seen out in dark skies, and it was absolutely beautiful. And we're also Space Foundation. We're going to bring back our in-person star parties starting next month. We're starting to see some of these outreaches beginning again with social distancing in place and keeping people safe. It's a great thing to do. If you've never been out to dark skies, it is a game changer. It is really, it's not a surprise how much it affected humanity and our culture. And it is a shame that we have as much light pollution as we do now. But if you get the chance, drive out and let your eyes adjust, turn off your phone, or just use red light, and give yourself the chance to just realize where you came from and what you were a part of. It's one of the best things that you will ever do for yourself, and also your mental health. I mean, it's just to remember that this too shall pass, and it'll all get better. But Abby, I want to go to you next. Tell us any final thoughts, any advice to the folks that are out there that you're inspiring, and where people can find the show and all your stuff on social media, all that?
Sure. So kind of what you just said, turn off your phones and turn off your lights and go out somewhere, get lost in the dark, reunite yourself with the universe. That would be advice I would tell anyone that really is critical, especially in times like these. However, I'm going to take this opportunity to plug two of my favorite things, which is one, Passage. Again, if you guys came on late, Passage is a vision to provide educational resources for aspiring young scientists via a record-breaking expedition. Please donate. Even if it's just $5, be that sliver of hope for some of those Latin American kids, for those opportunities that we have and take advantage of and for granted, because not everyone has that. And so if you guys could go do that, that would be super appreciated. And then also, I will plug my show, Infinity and Beyond with Astronomy Magazine. If you guys are curious and want to know, space is infinite, is there a chance that we could find aliens? Might be able to answer that. Might be able to answer what is the largest star we've found. Will long-haul space travel ever become a reality? If you watch an episode that's already out, you'll find out, could stars collide if two galaxies were to merge? And where does the material go in a black hole? Like, where does that material end up? I could cover any of those. You could just ask me questions, ask Astronomy Magazine those questions. I could do an episode on that, because we must continue marching onwards. The universe will not slow down for us to catch up. Remember, there is no limit when you're watching Space Fam or Infinity and Beyond. So go watch an episode if you have questions about really the universe or anything else. And where you can find me is Astronomy Magazine. Any of their social media platforms, whether it be Facebook or their website. They've got Twitter. They also have, I do believe, TikTok, even though we don't have a large presence on there. A lot of people are following them, and I would love to eventually evolve this series into like a quick 20-minute, space fact thing, maybe once a week or so. I think that would be super epic. But other personal social media platforms for me are Facebook, which is just Abigail Bolenbach. Instagram, which is awillow766, soon to be AB Astronomy, which is Twitter, and LinkedIn. So drift off into that beautiful night, and I'll keep it on. Thank you so much for having me on.
And really, we had a wonderful group tonight. Thank you so much. I know that we had some people jump in last minute, like Abby and Dr. Ja, and it's been a wonderful conversation. I was actually planning on even getting into some of the cool missions and stuff that we have going on, but we had so many amazing science communicators and educators on tonight that it just it really went in that direction. And I love talking about it because obviously it's something that is a big passion of mine. Thank you all. Thank you to all the guests tonight. We really appreciate you being on. You're all wonderful, and I can't wait to see what you all do next. And again, I have to echo Abby, please, if you can, donate to Passage. We're going to have more live streams coming up. I think we're working on the next one, and it will be on Wednesday, the 28th. So check into that one. And it's an awesome initiative. We're doing so many cool things. And hey, don't forget to pre-order your Raptor telescope. The first OPT telescope is on the way. It's coming out. You can pre-order it now. They ship on the 11th. So you probably won't see me like that entire week once I get mine. I'm just going to be, out in dark skies. I'm really stoked for that. And so how I'm going to wrap up the show by showing the Women of Astronomy YouTube video that OPT just released. It is incredibly wonderful. If you can stick around and watch it, I highly recommend it. If you can't watch it now, I know it's a little later on the East Coast for some folks. Go check it out. Go check out OPT Telescopes, period, on YouTube. There's a lot of amazing content out there, educational resources and inspiring stuff just like this. So again, thank you to all my guests. You are more than welcome to stick around backstage if you want to. I'm going to put on this video, and I hope you all enjoy it.
I just wanted to say thank you to Ron for having all of us and having this show and bringing more science communicators together.
Absolutely. No, thank you for joining. I mean, this is
so much, Ron.
I love the show, and we do it almost every Saturday night. Every so often, there's something comes up, but I love having the show, and every conversation is different. We've gone over everything from life in the universe to we had a big one a few weeks back with folks from all over the nation that work in observatories, and that was awesome because that's my goal one day is to run an observatory. So there's just always so many wonderful people out there, what was that?
The green screen.
The green screen? Oh, at the end you got it to work?
No, it's like
No. It was built into this particular filter.
Oh, it's the filter. You switched the filter.
I need that filter.
Is it one of the snap cameras?
It is.
Is it? Snap camera is a fun one, that's for sure. All right, everybody, we're going to throw this video on, and thank you so much. We will see you all next week, 8 p.m. MDT. I have no idea what it's going to be about yet, but I know it's going to be another wonderful conversation. We will see you all then.
Cheers. Thanks, Ron.
Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Shauna Pandya and I'm a physician, scientist, astronaut candidate with Project Possum, Aquanaut, Explorer, and VP of Immersive Medicine with Luxonic Technologies. And my start into the space world started with the most basic form of astronomy, and that was just stargazing as a kid. My parents were great for taking my brother and I camping, and we would see the most beautiful night skies all across Canada and the northwestern United States. And it was just being in those beautiful, dazzling nightscapes where you would see the Milky Way galaxy's spiral arms leap out at you at night that really made me want to be a part of the space world. And the rest, I guess you can say, is history. What's your story?
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm a deep space artist based currently in the UK, but I normally live in Australia, but I spend half my time in California.
Hi, my name is Dahlia Grellin, and I am one half of Galactic Hunter.
Hi, I'm Jenny St. Lawrence. I'm the other half of OPT, and I'm from Franklin, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Diana. I'm an astrophotographer, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hey, my name is Linda, and I'm from Los Angeles.
Hey, what's up? My name's Lanchin. I'm originally from Ormond Beach, Florida, but I currently live in Los Angeles, California.
Hi everyone, my name is Bailey Burns and I am an aerospace systems engineer.
Hi guys, how's it going? My name's Helena and I'm a 15-year-old amateur astrophotographer from the southwest of Scotland.
Hi, my name is Kat. I am an electrical engineer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, and currently I reside in Pasadena, California.
My name is Kate Gunderson. I'm a mechanical and aerospace engineer. I'm originally from Fargo, North Dakota, but I currently live in Houston, Texas.
Hi, I'm Sarah Longcore and I'm from regional Victoria in Australia.
My name's Stacey Downton. I live in Birmingham, which is in the UK.
Hi everyone, I'm Camille, or the Galactic Gal. I'm originally from North Carolina, but now I live in Denver, Colorado.
I'm Esther Trevino, also known as Space Cadet Esther online. I'm born and raised in San Diego, California, and I currently live in Los Angeles.
My name is Raquel Nuno, and I am a planetary scientist currently working on my PhD at UCLA.
Hey everyone, my name is Amy. I live in Georgia, and I am an astrophotographer.
So, how did I get into astro in the first place?
Initially what got me started in this hobby was life on other planets and life in space, and I wanted to be the one to find that life one day. So I immediately asked for a telescope in the hope of finding aliens on the moon.
Just like everybody else, I've always really loved looking at the moon, and I think that's how it started for me, even at a young age.
I just remember seeing how vivid and beautiful the moon was, and I feel like I got captured by space ever since.
Dustin came home and surprised me with a Dobsonian that he had bought on Craigslist. We took that out into the front yard and looked at the moon, and it was a game changer. That was it.
My love of astronomy comes from my grandfather. I have countless memories being in the backyard with him, looking through his telescope and talking about what was going on in the night sky.
In about second grade, I remember standing in the driveway on a warm summer night with my dad, looking up at the night sky, and I just knew, even at that young age, that I wanted to be involved with space exploration or aerospace engineering in some way.
I have always really wanted my work to benefit humanity in some way, but specifically through space exploration. You could find me as a little kid outside, laying down at the trampoline, just looking up at the stars, trying to find the planets.
I saw the moon through a telescope and I was just like, wow, it's right there. We were in a park at an elementary school working with some of the elementary school kids doing that. And I think I was more excited than the kids. I think I was like, oh, but did you guys see that? Like, oh my gosh.
It's always so amazing to have that experience with someone, you know, the sense of awe and excitement that they get from looking through a telescope. I know I still feel that way. Every time I look, I still feel a sense of wonder and excitement. Through astrophotography, I can capture those moments.
My favorite cosmic object in space, it would have to be the Pillars of Creation, a part of the Eagle Nebula. I've always loved it. I don't know why I've always loved it, but I've always loved it. I think it's so beautiful, and it's definitely my favorite one still to this day.
I really enjoy taking pictures of the Milky Way and just the peaceful feeling that you get sitting outside at night. It's just really relaxing and really peaceful.
My favourite object would have to be the Orion Nebula. It was the first target that I shot, although it's most people's first target.
Orion, it comes around every winter for us. I love it that much that I've even got a tattoo of it on my arm.
Favorite cosmic object is the Sunflower Galaxy M63. Is the first astro image I've ever taken, and it was with a plane wave on Twitch. That memory I have of it, I'll never forget it.
My favorite cosmic objects are stars. Our universe is just so huge, it's ginormous, and it's freezing. And so the warmth that's within it, like suns and stars, I think that's really special.
Mars may seem cliche, but as an aerospace engineer working on human spaceflight and human space exploration, Mars means a whole lot to me.
Just really, I want to thank everybody who's like supported me and helped me along this journey, because, you know, without that help, I probably would have been like, okay, this is crazy.
I love the Astro family. I think that what we've got is just amazing. It makes me bubble over with joy every time I think of everyone in the Astro community, no matter where they are in the world. And this is the great thing, that we're connected with people, you know, who shoot in the US, who shoot in Europe, who shoot in Australia. Like, it truly is a global community, and I love that.
Everybody is seeking something deeper than themselves. And to be able to connect with like-minded people that are asking the tough questions. Are we the only ones out here? Could there be life on another planet? Everybody kind of has this camaraderie to come together to help answer all of those questions for one another.
Aerospace engineers are often tasked with some of the world's most difficult problems. I always feel like there's somebody I can talk to get help with or guidance with one of these problems. The biggest gifts I've received as an aerospace engineer is confidence.
I've connected with younger people my age, so other 15, 16, 17-year-old astrophotographers doing the same as me. I've managed to help other people get into the hobby and get advice from people that have been in the hobby for a long time. So really, without the connections, I wouldn't be where I am today.
We're always learning from each other because everyone's always learning new information, and we get to share it together, and to see space exploration happen with a group of people, and it's the best feeling in the world.
I think I'm speaking to a lot of people I don't think I would have spoken to before, which is pretty awesome because they're from all places around the world, and I don't think I would have ever had this same opportunity to connect with people with something that we have in common.
There was a big part of my life when I wasn't involved in astronomy, and during that time I felt like there was a big piece of me missing. And so when I've come back to this hobby, I just feel like everything is right, and I'm so happy, and I'm just enjoying my life, and I'm loving this community.
I'm so grateful for the community that I'm part of now. I love being able to do outreach with kids. It just fuels my passion for continuing to share my love of space and science with them. So I'm really grateful that communities like this exist, and you can literally attend events where you can meet more people who love astronomy just as much as you do, and most of them are open to the public.
I have made so many friends, and I have been able to help so many people. I really truly think that it has changed my life in the way that not only am I able to work on what I love and have dreamt of doing since I was a little kid, but it's really important for me to also help others get here as well.
I feel like we have such a solid, helpful community and I've never been a part of a community like that before, where everyone's just cheers you on and is so willing to help. It's so inspiring and refreshing, and I think it really helps.
But you know what, ladies? I'd really appreciate it if some of you guys would join me out on the field. It would just really improve the dynamics all around everything. This is not just for men, but there's a lot of clubs out there that just don't have the female representation that it really deserves.
There's not a lot of women involved in this industry. It's a very male-dominated field, which I can talk about that for a long time. I'm an engineer.
I think that we could all do better in pushing for that. These fields are truly not what they could be because there are not enough women in them. So I think we need to encourage big girls and little girls, women of all ages, to come to the STEM side.
But you know, things are changing. I feel very hopeful, and I'm excited for, you know, other female astrophotographers and astronomers to emerge, you know, whether they're doing astrophotography, they're doing art, you know, they're like honing their craft.
I absolutely love that women are becoming more active in astronomy and astrophotography. It's so refreshing to come across women that appreciate space. Women are getting lots of great opportunities to be in the space field if they want to be. I really hope that more women become involved in astronomy and the space group of women just continues to grow.
I want everyone to feel like they belong, and you know, so far my experience has been really amazing. Like I said,
Hey, I remember that.
People have been so welcoming and so willing to share their knowledge, because there's so much that you can gain from seeing the beauty of the cosmos. And the fact that we are here to appreciate it. I want everyone to feel that wonder and that excitement.
For me, the best part is the other females that I have had the pleasure of meeting and getting to know through college, work, and now Instagram and the science communication platform that I have, the Galactic Gal. I'm constantly amazed by all of the women in STEM that I meet all the time, and I'm excited for the next generation of women in STEM and just STEM in general.
I like to get excited about astronomy. I like to tell other people it's out there in hopes that, you know, one of those little girls that I was with in the elementary school parking lot.
I think I took that picture too.
Finding Jupiter's moons and stuff like that, in hopes that one of them will take that one day and be like, I remember when I saw Jupiter's moons for the first time and I was inspired to go chase down more answers.
I'm hoping that ladies are going to see this video and just go out there and just look up. Even if it's with a pair of binoculars, just go out and have a look at the constellations. Go to star parties. I just want women to get involved and start putting themselves out there. If there were more of us doing it, then hopefully we could show people that, you know, women can do this.
Even if you're one amongst 20 men, you're representing literally every single other woman or little girl that would want to be in that. And so I think to be visible and to be present is very, very important for that reason.
Being surrounded by all kinds of incredible women who also are strong and powerful and intelligent has really helped me find a community that I can connect with and that makes me feel even more confident and connected and just like I have a place where I belong, and it's been really incredible to be a part of that.
I suspect that women are going to be playing, you know, an equal part in astronomy as guys, and you know, I just see the community growing more and more. I think, you know, talking to people in you know, their experiences throughout the generations is that, you know, there are more women getting, and kids getting into the hobby, and I think that's fantastic.
It's become more clear that there aren't a lot of females in the hobby at all, so I think it's being promoted a lot more than it was. I mean, there are women going up doing spacewalks on the International Station now.
I think that the best is yet to come. I think that society has come a long way. We have abolished a lot of stereotypes that are now going out the window, and that needs to continue. Diversity needs to increase, and I think that inclusion is the major buzzword for me.
Getting more women involved, you know, it can build that community and support. Some people might need to get into this hobby. So my hopes for the future is that we can have more women in astronomy and astrophotography, and maybe the female to male ratio might even up a little bit. And if I can inspire and help even just one woman to get involved, if this is their passion, then yeah, I'll be pretty happy with that.
Honestly, now that I'm actually doing astrophotography myself, my dream is that more women will not only be taking pictures of space, but sharing those images with the world, and we'll be seeing more of those just as much as we see men.
The work that we are doing is working, and I hope others feel inspired to help us, that they'll join in and help us do this wonderful work. It's so important and so rewarding as well.
I feel like we're moving in the right direction. I feel like that's my biggest hope, is to just recruit more women into these fields. And so if you're a woman that's watching this right now and you're considering one of these fields, please know that we need you. We need more of you. We need more of me.
Don't get scared away by people saying it's rocket science. That just creates a barrier that doesn't need to be there. If you want to be a rocket scientist, an astronomer, anything in the space industry, or really in STEM in general, then you can do it, and you have to believe in yourself and not let anybody tell you otherwise.
My challenge to you guys is to put your fears aside and come join us out on the field as part of a club and explore beyond what's in our atmosphere. It's really quite magical.
I'm excited to see women start bringing that passion to the table as well.
I really think the future's bright for us.
Start doing it. You have our support.
Such an awesome video. Oh, I love it. Like, I've seen it. I've watched it before. And apparently I think I might have cut it short before the last part with Mae Jemison there. But I love that quote. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We will be back on at 8 o'clock Mountain Time next Saturday night, and we will see you all then. Again, thank you so much to my guests for joining us tonight. You all were wonderful, and we will see you on the next show.